We are here again to start up a new series. Please let me just check from my other connection to see that you can hear me before I forge ahead. So just give me a second to check my devices just to be sure that I can hear myself. Uh, Here again to start up a new series. Please let me just check for my other connection. Okay, so I will check from time to time, but if you can put a comment down, I will really appreciate it. I'm just going to this to the other so I can be track of what's happening. Just give me a second. I'm going to introduce myself very soon. Just hold on, please. Let's see. Okay, so apologies. Just give me a second. Yeah, I think so that I can monitor what's happening, especially on LinkedIn, right? Shabo, very much. Thank you. Thank you very much for stopping by. So, as a matter of introduction, my name is Joseph Afisu. I am a Microsoft MVP and a Microsoft MCT, right? So, I have written a lot of exams ranging from the fundamentals to the advanced exams. And today, the essence of this call is for us to see how we can better prepare people who are looking for switching to the cloud, to cloud technologies, right? This basically is deal. I'm hearing some callback here. Apologies. I just want to set my scene completely, right? So what I'm trying to say is you have the options to write like a lot of exams, right? And then for today, I am really going to be showing you how to best prepare for the fundamental examinations, right? But before we even move on, I will try to first of all show you what is called the Microsoft certification poster, right? And then we'll look at all the examinations that are there. And then we finally had to now conclude to say, okay, so if I want to start my journey into the cloud computing, right, to take, right? So that's the essence of this series. It's going to be a long one. So it's not something that we want to do one day and run away. No, it's going to be something that will take our time to help those who are already in the field of IT. We're looking forward to the technology of computing, or we want to also help people, trying to switch career from other roles to cloud computing. To be very honest, there are a lot of information out there which is looking like the same thing I've also brought, but I want to say that I tend to want to do my own with a difference, get to learn, and people can get to have their me very well. I am an advocate of trying to see how to help people find their footings, right? Because you must earn from every engagement you have. So these are very important. But unfortunately, people don't take it serious because whatever that is, people don't really think there is a value. So, but as much as I contribute to humanity, as I have the opportunity, I'm going to do it, right? So this is where my strength lies, and I'm sure that somebody is struggling with it, and that's why I'm here today, broadcasting to YouTube. So if you've not subscribed to my YouTube channel, you may just want to check it out. I think I have over 200 videos there, detailed long videos that would actually guide you, to specific areas within the cloud technology space. I'm also broadcasting to Facebook, my Facebook friends, which are more of my family and my people that we grew up together. While the LinkedIn platform is a platform where I've met a lot of professionals, soon we have had a lot of discussions, and so my professional colleagues on LinkedIn, you may just want to invite somebody to join. I'm also streaming this as well to my TikTok. Yeah, so I'm very new on TikTok. So if you want to follow me, you may just want to leave a follow on TikTok because sometimes I share tips also, very short ones that can, help people. So that's the essence of today's own. So there's a series of there's a series of lessons that we would go through. Let me just be sure of how many there are. One, two, three, four. So there are four, right? So for the four of them, right, it's going to take like I don't know, consecutive classes. Good thing is I have we have a lot of people on holidays today. People don't really are not at work, right? So tomorrow also people are going to be at home, right? Which is Saturday, right? So if we have opportunity tomorrow, if I look at my schedule on time and see that we can also continue from the version 2, I will try to schedule the meeting on time just so if you want to follow through, you can follow through. And then if you want to keep track of whatever I want to do, you may just want to leave a connection request with me on LinkedIn, especially, or send me a friend request on Facebook, or maybe give me a follow on TikTok, and you can really drop even my YouTube channel, and I'll be happy to just come on and let you know during a meeting like this. I'm just going to pop it to you over the what's it called DM, right, just so you can see what's happening. So that said, I want to present something to you, right, and that is become Microsoft certified. So that's just it, right. Let me bring it on and see. So if you do become Microsoft certified on your screen, on your browser, you are definitely going to see something that looks like a PDF file here. So when I open it, I would see a certification poster. So what is this really showing? Let me just be sure if it's showing what I'm displaying at the moment. Because this part is very important that I don't want to skip at all. So I'm just trying to follow through. Yeah, I think it's correct. It's rightly coming on. So because I see the way my resolution is right now is small for a lot of persons, especially for those who are on the mobile phone. I will just zoom into maybe I'll zoom into 100 and see. So if you look up here, this is about Microsoft certification. So become Microsoft certified. Okay. So if you look at it, categorized, right? They are categorized into different areas, right? So you have the infrastructure part, you have the data and AI parts, you have the digital app and innovation, you have the work, you have the business application, and then you have security. But the point is, the first line, right? You're going to see the fundamental exams that you should look out for if you're already in the field, or if you are looking out for how to come on the field. So you may want to check, excuse me, you may want to check the fundamentals out, right? But amidst all of this, we have the AZ 900, we have the AI 900, we have the DP 900, um, we have the AMS 900, which is what we are going to be treating today. Then we have the MB 901, we have MB 920, we have the PL 900, and we have SC 900. So that's how the fundamentals are, right? Which is what for, right? So if you check further, cover that you have is AZ. So we may be taking AZ in the future, but I want us to focus on the modern work, which is the MS-900 for now. So this is what we are going to be looking at. The course carries a lot. So if you click on there, you will see that it is leading to the certification path, right? It shows you everything that you need to study. We start from introduction to Microsoft 365 down to Microsoft Azure Fundamental, describe cloud concepts, right? And then MS-900 introducing you to Microsoft 365, describe Microsoft 365 apps and services, and then you go to introduction to M365 to describe M365 security and compliance capabilities, and then you go to introduction to pricing and licensing. That's why I'm saying that we have like four of them. So today's conversation is going to be more around the concept of um, the concept of cloud technology, right? So that's what we are going to be having a conversation today. So as opportunity will show itself up, let's say tomorrow. So as early as possible that we can, we also come back for the introduction to Microsoft 365 to describe the Microsoft 365 apps and services. And if you see, it's about a 2 hours 23 minutes course. Like this, if you're going to read it, you're going to spend approximately or not less than 2 hours to study this. But we're just going to try to break it down in a way that even if you have to go back to study it, it will really be very, very helpful to you. So that's what I want you to know. But enough of the talks, right? So I just want to bring up what we are going to be having as a discussion today in my slide. So I'm going to start my slide from the beginning. So I'm just going to do slideshow and I will do from the beginning, right? Okay, so that's what we are going to be dealing with right now. So what we are going to be having is the cloud concept. So really, what is cloud? You know, people keep preaching cloud technologies, cloud technologies, cloud technologies. The question is that what is even the concept around the cloud? So that's going to be like the first conversation that we are going to have today, just so we can understand exactly what cloud technology is all about. So let's go on. The learning outline will include, so during the course of this training, you are going to learn the following concepts: cloud concepts, right, or cloud computing concepts. What is cloud computing? What is shared responsibility? What is cloud models? What is capital expense? What is operational expense? Or what they call capital cost and operational cost. And then we also talk about the benefits of cloud. We'll also move on to look at some terms that are popular that you should know as a cloud person, which are the IaaS, the PaaS, and the IaaS, and the SaaS rather. So if you are here and you are new to cloud technologies, by the end of this training, all these terms should be something that you are familiar with. Now, definition. What is cloud computing? So, cloud computing actually deals with, apologies, just give me a sec to just check of something here. Okay, cloud computing, really, what's the definition? It's about delivery of computing services over the internet. That's what cloud computing is all about. Delivering cloud, delivering computing resources over the internet. So anytime you hear anybody say cloud computing, it is not really something that you should bother yourself about, right? Just note that, excuse me, I need to take care of something real quick. Just drag this guy here, and then I'll pull this guy up on the screen. I'll just do again slideshow from the beginning. Let's just do current slide. Okay, cool. Okay, just give me a second. Okay, I think with this I can have a full screen, right? Because when I turn on my camera, that seems to be a bit smaller. So I will just disable my video for a while, just so we can have a full screen, and that's cool. All right, so I'll come back with video if I have to. All right. So definition of cloud computing, we had said that cloud computing is requires delivery of cloud services over the internet. I'm going to pick up my pen. So really, what is it? What is it? If somebody asks you the definition of cloud computing, right? So if you look at the word cloud, look at the word compute, right? So you have to see this as internet, okay? And then you see the computing as compute service or computing service. So what is there is, for example, you you come here, right? You have in your office, your physical office, for example, you probably have a computer sitting on the desk on your table there in the office. This is the laptop here, and you have it on the table. And then you attach a disk to it, which is maybe your USB flash drive, right? It's just here to copy files. And then your chair is somewhere here that you sit down to work. Now, you sitting here to work, right? And everything about this file is on this table, right? So what happens is that when this computer crashes, it crashes along with all the files you have saved in there. It crashes along with all the applications you have running in there, and it render you helpless. And let's now say you have something somewhere as a storage that whatever you do here, you copy it and you take it to that server and you save it there. If this computer breaks, you can still go back here with your flash and get the files, the last backup that you had here. It's fine, right? Now, take for an instance where the whole building is affected by a natural disaster. That means that both what you have on your PC and what you had copied to your server, your file server, or whatever server that is there, goes along with everything that your organization has. So this was a regular practice. And then in real world, right, organizations decided to be rendering computing service. I know what happened. This is a department one, this is a department two, right? And this is a department three. And now there are laptops here, sitting here, and sitting here. Perhaps the IT office is just somewhere here, IT office. Now, these departments that are here, the IT department is department four. And if the IT guy needs to do something on this computer, he would have to come into department one, do something on this, go to department two, do something on this, and go to department three and do something on this computer. Now, it came a time, let's say, for example, for instance, there is a file that department one person is working on, and even another computer within department one needs access to the same file. The guy using this computer would have to copy this file manually and get to this computer and plug in the whatever storage source and use this computer to access that that machine. I mean that storage, that file that is within this flash. And then if this guy makes a change to it, he would have to also come back and plug it back here to transfer it. And then if, for example, there is an anniversary and the company is celebrating, that they need to maybe push a particular wallpaper to everybody's computer, the IT guy will probably copy that file, that picture image, I mean that PNG file or a JPEG file, and come to this guy's computer and install the wallpaper, right? And then again come to this other guy and install the wallpaper, and then come to this other guy, install the wallpaper, and come to this guy also to install the wallpaper. Now think about the time that this guy would spend to come all the way from here to here to here and then recycle to his own seat. It's part of the stress that is going on, right? Now, there was an advancement, and then there was need to have a centralized system, because as you see this, this is not connected to this, neither is this one connected to this, or this one connected to this. Everything is separate, right? So there is now a concept where we have a computer which is called a server, right? We now have what is called the server client relationship. Just so the computer in department 2, the computer in department 3, the computer in department 4, and so on would have to be having a link with this central computer, so that when we want to make, for example, that wallpaper change, we will just address that issue from here and then push it to those computer using what is called policy, right? Push it here, push it to this guy, and then push it to this guy as well as this guy, all from the same place. And then depending on access setup, we can also say that if we have a file from this guy in department 1 that department 3 needs to use, we just have a central place and have all these computers connected to that computer, that central computer here, just so when this guy is working, he saves the file here, and if this guy needs it, he just picks it up from here. And whenever this guy makes a change and this guy still want to look at what is there, he just goes there and pick it up, instead of having you move from the seat you are to this other seat. Another instance is that you have this computer, right? You have this computer, and something took you from department 1 to visit somebody in department 3, right? And then you need to access your account. You have to go back and bring your laptop. But with what we are talking about now, there was now an option for you to have like a decentralized attachment to your laptop that you can also sign into your account on another laptop. That is a talk for another day. Now, the machine is sitting here, right? This one is a server that is rendering a service to these computers, which are called the client computers. So the individual computers here, in this case, are called the clients, right? Why the one that serves them with whatever service is referred to as the server. So a server is not just a server because it has a server operating system, mind you. A server is a server only when it has a role that it is performing on the network. So a server is only a server only when it has a role that it is performing on the network. So that we must take note of. So that said, looking at what we have here, right? A concept now come that, okay, now but what the point is that if anything happens, this old guy here, let's say a disaster, natural disaster set out or occur, what would happen is that everything around this whole setup can possibly go, except there was a backup somewhere. Now, if there's no backup anywhere, it means that that whole infrastructure is gone. And also, the cost to set it up, organizations, smaller organizations may not be able to afford those services or those amounts of money. So giants in the industry now sat down to reason the fact that why not we build a service, why not we build a gigantic system and render it to people as a service. That way, we'll be the ones to take care of the whole maintenance. And then these people only have to pay for the services that we offer them. And the only way to achieve that is to build this same infrastructure somewhere physically available and give people access to those infrastructure when they are connected to the internet. And that is really where the definition of cloud computing came to be. right? That is really where definition of cloud computing came to be, where people deliver services or access their computing services over the internet. As we go on, we will see a lot, but that can include compute, it can include storage, it can even include networking. Because for these computers to talk to themselves, they needed to have network, LAN cables connected from one to the other, or they are connected over the Wi-Fi, right? So even that service of networking, somebody thought to provide it. That service of compute, somebody thought to provide it. That service of storage, somebody thought to provide it. So cloud technology is not like somebody is having a computer in the cloud and then you have to use um, rockets to go and access your computer. No, the word cloud there actually means internet. My screen is actually becoming a bit messy. Maybe in subsequent explanation, I will use Microsoft Paint to do the explanation. So while talking about define cloud concept, cloud models, now I will bring up Paint now just so I can explain something to you real deep. So instead of having our screen a bit messed up, right? We would have to clean up what we have now. So let me pull this over here, and I really hope that we'll be able to use this to understand. So what are we talking about? The cloud model, right? The cloud models. You can hear the word cloud deployment models, right? The deployment models that we have are three, right? You have one, let's call it green. You have another one, let's call that one black. We have another one, let's call that one red. Red. Okay. So now we are talking about cloud deployment model. Okay. So talking about cloud deployment model, I want this to be a bit bigger, and then I'll have to zoom this a bit just so you can see clearly. I'll put it at 20, right? So now we have one. We have private, we have public, and then we have hybrid. Hybrid, not hybrids. Hybrid. So if you see these two terms, what comes to your mind? Or these three terms, right? One is that private cloud, I'll make an example with what private cloud is. Private cloud is actually a cloud that is owned by one organization, right? Or that is dedicated to only one organization. How does it work? Let's say, for example, I'll use Lagos, I'll use Nigeria as an example. So, in case you don't know Nigeria, just imagine somewhere like that within your own region. You have a bank, right? And this is the bank, okay? So, this bank is having branches across different states. So, that bank has a branch here, it has a branch here, it has a branch here in different states, right? Now, if you come to deposit money, let's say here is Lagos, here is Port Harcourt, PH, here is Kano. So I'm using locations in Nigeria to explain, just in case you don't know these names. They are not technical terms, they are just names of places. So let's just say Benin, or let's say Abuja, right? ABJ. Okay. So what happens is that when you are when you are in PH and then you deposit an amount, let's say you deposited 50K, right? Deposit. You put 50K. And on that day, you were traveling and you probably came to Abuja on your way to Kano. So you withdrew 10K when you got to Abuja. 10K when you got to Abuja. The same bank. Now, what happens is that after you left Abuja, you went on to Kano to check your balance. You would really see that your balance is reading 40K across the system, 40K as your balance. And each time you request for withdrawal, the cashier plunges into the system to check how much of money you have left in your account. What that guy does is he connects to the server, or what is called the data center. He connects to the data center to check how much of balance you have in your account, because your account balance is not kept in Port Harcourt where you make the deposit, neither is it in Abuja when you made a withdrawal. It connects to the data center to reflect the changes to the values in your bank account. So how these guys, Abuja speaks to the data center, Port Harcourt speaks to the data center, Lagos speaks to the data center, is over the internet, right? So this kind of service, because it belongs to only one bank, if another bank wants to do, set up, it will also have to set up its own data center, different and separate from what you have here, right? Different from what you have in, let's say, bank ABC. Now let's move on. How do they access it? This guy access it over the web. This guy goes to that place over the web. This one speaks to this one. This one does not even need to speak to this, right? They all just speaks to the data center to check how much more this guy has. Now, because this cloud is particular to an organization, separate and inaccessible to another organization, it is called a private cloud. And I'm sure that sank very well. So we have to now look at another thing called the public cloud. So what's the concept of public cloud? That's the next thing that we need to look at. What is the concept around public cloud? I'm just checking my platforms to see if I have questions that I need to respond to. Right, I'm seeing that it's appearing that my LinkedIn is a bit stuck. Just give me a bit, let me check what's happening there, because the explanation I'm really giving now are important, that I really check to be sure that everything is intact. I'm just checking through my LinkedIn because I'm suspecting that there is a oh, okay. I'm in real time there as well. Thank you, thank you everyone. So if you have question, I'm also putting my attention on those channels. You can drop your questions. I will be very happy to respond to you. Okay, so that's cool. So let's move on. Now that is for private cloud. What about public cloud? Public cloud is that cloud system where organizations have their own accounts within it. This organization, these are organizations on their own rights. They have access to organization of different sizes, have access to the services that are deployed there. That way, right? This guy from this this organization, this one, and this one all have access based on subscription. So a service, or what is called a cloud service provider, provides similar services on a public network or on a publicly available for organization A, organization B, organization C, and organization D to access their services. So they subscribe and then they come here to use the service. And then you know what? The account that this guy has with them is separated from the account that this guy has with them securely from this one and this one. So what that means is that somebody from organization A cannot sign into organization D data inside of this place. No. So, but the only way that these guys can access this is using the internet. So this is public cloud arrangement. And then the good thing is that we are still going to be looking at that. But the good thing about this is that you know what? These guys are responsible based on what is called SLA, service level agreement, that they will be available to these organizations anytime they are in need of their service or the data that they have there. They'll be available to provide those details to them. So, secondly, if anything had happened on this instance of the bank ABC is responsible for any patches, any security concern, any safety concern. It is their responsibility to make sure that they guard this, to make sure that it is available, because if it is not working as expected, they have to own it. But you see, this is a system where you can raise a support ticket to what is called the CSP, the cloud service provider, to respond to what you need them to do for you. So for the public cloud, you can liken it to the to public vehicle that you bought for those who use transport in Lagos. If you are using the yellow bus, right? If anything happens to yellow bus on the way, it is a driver that fixes it. It doesn't concern you, because that time the driver is operating a public service or a public cloud kind of, So if you want to compare it, you don't have any need. But if you are driving your private car, say you are traveling to the same office and the car breaks down, you have to stop to work on it. Now, what is hybrid cloud? Hybrid cloud, to be simply and mathematically put, is a combination of is the addition of public plus private. So if you do this now, public, if you are using public cloud as well as cloud combination, it will give you equal to hybrid cloud. So public cloud plus private cloud is equal to hybrid cloud. So hybrid cloud can be likened to a combination of the two, right? Let's say you are doing an interstate journey and then you travel to a state and then you decided to use public vehicle to travel to that state, and while in that state you use your private car to travel. So I would just liken that to an instance of a bank where maybe the account number of users are kept in their local server on premises, and then the users other data that the industry allows them to save to the cloud are kept with a cloud service provider. That way, they have separate system. They have some in the cloud and they have some sitting on premises. So that kind of arrangement is likened to is called the hybrid infrastructure. So that's how that works. So all right, I was just checking the chat that I have. Just give me a second. Okay, so that said about private, public, and hybrid cloud. So so cloud for the consumption based, right? The public cloud, if you hear consumption based model, for the public cloud, It you only pay for what you use. Unlike the on-premises that if you buy a server of a storage of let's say 2 terabytes, whether you use the 2 terabytes or not, you have bought it, is that you have bought it. But in the cloud, if what you needed at a point in time is 1 TB, right? And later your data grew and then you need 2 TB, you can request for it. But you can't get charged for 2 TB when you are using a 1 TB. So it's actually a consumption based, right? So if you hear the principle of consumption based model, it is talking about paying for exactly what you use. So for those of us who are using electricity and paying to the electricity provider, if you are using a prepaid service, you only use, I mean, pay for what you consume, right? That is what the cloud service model, the public cloud, would actually do for you. You have to only pay for what you use. So that is for the consumption based model, right? So in terms of cost, right? In terms of cost, I just mentioned it. For the cloud service, you don't have to pay upfront. You can just be paying as you are using, pay as you go service. But for the on-premises, right, or the private cloud, you have to pay for everything that you are making use of. So we need to move to the next one. And we are really going to be dealing with a lot of things on the slide now. So let's come to think about it. What is cloud computing now that we've understood how it works? Cloud computing is delivery of computing services over the internet, enabling faster innovation, flexible resources, and economy of scale. Now let's look at it. Instead of spending your time setting up that server in your environment, which is traditional, trying to put one machine, connecting one via network cable to the other one, and then trying to troubleshoot the network that is not routing well to the other device, you could actually spend that time to start innovating new things since these are already traditional and archaic, even though they are necessary, right? So with that innovation, you can actually go on and on without paying any attention to the traditional way of doing things. So in that way, you can focus on more things that are relevant than wasting your time on traditional things. Not to repeat. Now, flexible resources, like we said, you can decide to say, okay, let's increase it. And when we do no longer need as much as that, we can reduce it. This we're also going to be discussing during the course of these slides. So now, and of course, economy of scale, very important. And what can you access via cloud computing? You can access compute resources, like I mentioned earlier. You can access networking, right? And then you can also, very importantly, access storage. Okay. So cloud, private cloud. Good thing is that we've been able to be introduced to all of these. What is a private cloud? Organizations create a cloud environment in their own data center. So just like we had earlier explained here, this organization creating their own data center in their own environment. That is what is called private cloud. Organizations are responsible for operating these services they provide. They are solely responsible, right? This is that bank. This is that bank data center sitting somewhere, and then the other branch offices would only access this data center over the internet to check the account balances in terms of the bank, right? To check the account balances and the return to them over this is the internet, right? This is the internet. So, and does not provide access to users outside of the organization because what? It is private to that org. So if this, for example, is bank ABC, bank XYZ cannot come to access the resources here since they are outside of the organization boundary. Very important. While public cloud is owned by cloud service or hosting provider. So if you hear the word CSP or cloud service providers, we have the like of Google, we have the like of Microsoft, we have the like of AWS and others, right? All these are what is called CSPs. They provide these services for organizations. Then the resources that they provide and these services that they provide are available to multiple organizations, right? And multiple users. But they have to keep the data of one organization inaccessible to the another organization data because this is the SLA that they serve. SLA is service level agreement for them to keep their data with you. So access via secure network connection, typically over the internet, right? That's where you can access this data. Now, hybrid cloud combine public and private cloud to allow application to run in most appropriate locations. Like I mentioned, it's possible that this, of course, this is the on-premises environment that we saw, and this is the plus here, which is what? The on-premise, right? The on-prem or the private. So if you put this together, you are going to get the hybrid cloud environment. That's how you get hybrid cloud. Okay. Now that said, let's start comparing cloud models. Let's compare let's compare public, private, and hybrid cloud. What is a private cloud? Private cloud requires you to pay for the service, right? Pay for whatever you are using in full, pay for it. While that of private cloud or public cloud, you have it without spending money to purchase hardwares. But let's move on to take it one after the other. Public cloud, no capital expenditure to scale up. You don't need capital expenditure. So what it means is that you don't need to buy physical gadgets, right? You only have to pay to logically increase what you have to use. In terms of no capital, but you can spend operational capital to increase it without paying attention to anything physical. Hardware must be purchased for startup and maintenance. For you using private cloud, you have to purchase hardware, but zero hardware here in terms of compute or computing services. While in hybrid cloud, provide the most flexible because you can choose what to buy and what to pay for as a service. Application can be quickly provisioned and deprovisioned in terms of the cloud. For example, you can build a virtual machine now and decide to delete it when you are done with your activities. We're also going to be looking at how to do that, right? But if you buy a laptop, for example, or you buy a server operating system, you cannot just throw it away, right? When you want to deprovision because you spend some money to buy it physically. But in the cloud, you can just use it now and destroy it immediately because they're actually soft. Organizations have complete control over the resources and security. It is while you have complete control, remember that all of the risk is sitting on your shoulders. While organizations determine where to run the application in terms of hybrid, decide which application should I run here, which one should I not run here. Organizations pay only for what they use in terms of public cloud. You only pay for what you use, but for the private cloud, you are responsible for hardware maintenance and updates. Everything is on you. Organization control security, compliance, and legal requirements. So it is because of legal requirements in compliance that people will decide, in hybrid cloud, that people will decide what should be where. For example, you can have a hospital and then patient medical data should maybe remain on your local machines within your environment. But people signing in their account to sign in to work, to do meetings and all of that, you need teams, right? You need you need emails to fly in and out. You may now decide to say, okay, you want to go for cloud service so that you can use Teams for your meeting and use Exchange or Outlook to receive your mails. While every medical record that you have in the transactions of the day to day are all saved on premises. So you choose where to save what based on um, legal requirements. All right. So let me see. See that I have. Okay, cool. Makes sense. All right. So we move on. Now, without much emphasis, if you are on on-premises environment, what you are doing is capital expenses. While if you are in the cloud environment, all you do is operational expenses. So for your on-premises environment or your private cloud, you pay upfront, setting up the servers, buying the storage, spending money on physical infrastructure, even the building, you are responsible to build it. The security men, you have to, take care of all those things. While for operational expenses, which is what is obtainable in the cloud or in the public cloud, you spend on products and services as you need them on a pay as you go plan. Cost from capex have a value that reduces over time due to what? Depreciation, right? So there is, if I remember very well, there's what is called depletion, and then there's called operational depreciation or something, right? Functional depreciation, yeah. So as you're making use of that your server, the functionality of the server is reducing. The lifespan is being impacted. The useful life is reducing, right? So in that case, you want to look at capital expenses, that the cost for capital expenses have a value that will reduce over time. And that's what you have. If you have it bought at this amount today, tomorrow it may not be the same. But for the cloud, the value remain constant because it is actually not seen, but you are using it in somebody else's environment. So you can get billed immediately for what you use, like you pay for it right now, right? Let's say, for example, you're using Azure VM, you know the amount you're going to pay for an hour, right? So that's it. While cloud service providers operate on consumption-based model, which means that the end user only pay for the resources they use, and it's a better cost prediction because already you know how much you are going to pay for an hour, right? So unlike you having your infrastructure on premises on your private cloud and you don't know what happens if there is, let's say for example, electrical issue, you cannot predict how much you are going to spend. For the cloud, you can really tell how much your monthly expenses will be and you can actually write a budget on that. Then price for individual resources and services are provided. You can see them and billing is based on actual use. You pay for what you use. All right. So let's move on. Cloud benefits. Now, what are the benefits of? We've been saying a lot. I'm sure that in a way I would have been politically saying what the benefits are. But really, what are the benefits of cloud computing? Or what are the benefits of cloud? I wish this is a physical class where I have my students. I would have really loved to ask them questions to provide me responses to what they feel could be the benefits of the cloud. But you can drop that on the comment section if you do have any comments so that we can look at that together. So what is there is at this time, let's look at the benefits of cloud. Let's look at the benefits of cloud. Cloud benefits objective domain. We are going to describe the benefit of high availability, right? What does it mean? That your cloud service is promised to be available because of what is called redundancy in the cloud. So if you have, depends on how your redundancy is set up, but at least the minimum one is that one file that you have set up is going to be spread across different data center, just in case when one fails, then the other one can pick up availability. So even if there is a disaster in one region, the other region is going to pick it up, right? The other region will pick it up. So the next thing is we talk about scalability. What does it mean to be scalable? Scalability means that if you are, for example, using 5 terabytes, you can decide to say, okay, my workload has increased. I want to go to 10 terabytes. And then you can really go to 10. At any instance in time, you want to go to 15, you can get to 15. And if you need to go to 20, you can go to 20. You can scale, right? You can scale up. But doesn't mean that since you've gotten to 20 terabytes, that you should remain there. If your data has any chance of reduction down to maybe 7, right? Or maybe 12, right? You can decide to come down to 12, and then you can even try to come down below 5 TB to 3 TB. It is scalable. You can decide to say, no, I don't want this again. I want it reduced. Maybe at peak hours, you have a lot of things happening. You can decide to maybe during the what's it called? During um, November, then you have, let's say you have something around Black Friday that is actually happening. You can decide to say, okay, so what I will do is I will scale up, and then when Black Friday is over, I will scale down. Something similar, right? So scalability is there in the cloud. So the because of the what's it called now? The term around replications, right? You can be sure that it is a reliable kind of setup. And because you can actually tell how much you are going to spend, predictability is an advantage or a benefit of the cloud. Then we want to believe that security and governance is possible on portals, right? You can check your security updates are obvious in admin centers. In Microsoft, you can have the Purview, the Defender Admin Center, where you can check this out in terms of security. And then for governance, for Purview Admin Center, you can check things like that out to see how it is. Another point is that manageability in the cloud. It is really very, very, very possible for you to manage your resources clearly. Just put them in, let's say you have what is called the resource group. You can arrange your your files, or I mean your resources, into resource groups, give them different names according to the project, and you can really easily access and reference them in times of use. So, summary: benefit of cloud: availability, scalability, predictability, reliability, security and governance, and then manageability. And apart from this, there's also what you can see here: the scaling up possibility, and then the scaling down possibility is what is called elasticity. So you can add elasticity to the advantages of the cloud. Elasticity is also an advantage of the cloud, if you ask me. Cloud benefits: now high availability, scalability, predictability, governance, oh, elasticity is here, reliability, security, and manageability. So these are the cloud benefits. So now we've talked about deployment model, and we say there is private, there is public, there is hybrid, and then you have the service models. What are the service models? Right? Service models. So service models, you have options where you are the one that will provision a system for you. Um, let's say a virtual machine, and then you are responsible to make sure that you take care of your softwares inside. That the responsibility of the software is yours, right? We are going to be looking at this later. So what this means is that The system has been provisioned for you, the bare machine, which is this. Then whatever runs inside as codes, as softwares, are your own headache. If anything breaks within the codes that you are running inside, please don't come to us. But if this carcass here that we have given you with an operating system is having issues, you can decide to reach out to us. But everything that happens inside here is your own. So that way, you are talking about an infrastructure as a service because we are giving you the infrastructure, but you are responsible for the platform with which you want to run your code, and then the code itself. You are responsible for the platform and the codes that are running within the platform. Then another point can be that no, we are giving you the virtual machine, right? We're also taking care of the platform inside, but you are going to be responsible for the codes that are running inside. Now, if anything happens to this infrastructure, you reach back to the service provider. If anything happens to the platform, you reach out to the service provider. But if anything happens to the line of code, you deal with it yourself. And then the third one is that both the infrastructure, the platform, and then the code are the responsibility of the service provider. That way, only thing you have access to, or you are interested in, is to just use. You don't care about what happens in the underlying infrastructure. You don't care about what happened in the underlying um, platform. You don't even care about the underlying line of codes. All that concerns you is that you run a code and your code works, and that's all you know. And if anything prevents you from accessing your service, then you reach out to the service provider via ticket and they will help you. But you can't be using this service and you are raising a ticket that you cannot, the platform is not working or your code is not working. Nobody's going to answer you. Or you are running this, we are taking care of the platform, for the infrastructure as well as the platform for you, and then something happened to your line of code and you are reaching out to the service provider, you will not get an answer. But for this, if anything breaks, let's say you cannot sign into the application, you have to reach out. But this, if your user cannot sign in, they reach out to the developer that is developing the application to check the code, right? So the situation where we give you the machine, you are responsible for what happens inside. We're giving you infrastructure. Now, if the platform is taken care of, the infrastructure is taken care of, but you have to take care of the line of codes. Then, since platform is provided to you as a service, it is called the um, platform as a service um, service model. Okay. Then, if you're only to use and just use and pay for what you use and just go, you don't care about anything, that can be likened to, or that is SaaS, which is software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service. Now, let us look at how to describe the shared responsibility model. So, shared responsibility model is saying something around who should be responsible for what. For example, user account, the machine, the hardware, right? There's platforms and all of that. Identify appropriate use cases for each of these. So let's see, let's just move on to the next one. You really see that infrastructure as a service takes care of things around storage and servers, right? You can talk about network because these are supposed to be like physical things within your environment and the security of it. Then data center physical maintenance plans. If you are being rendered these services, what you are using is infrastructure as a service. So build pay as you go IT infrastructure by renting servers, actually virtual machines or storage or network, and then operating system from the cloud service provider. So service model, you should be able to differentiate them from deployment model. Platform as a service, would include everything in software as a service, right? Plus the operating system as well as the tool where the codes are going to run. So you talk about servers, talk about network and security, talk about data center, the physical data center building, the operating system, and the development tool, the database management, and business analytics. So providing an environment for building, testing, and deploying software application without focusing on managing the underlying infrastructure. That is platform as a service. Why about software as a service? You don't even care about the servers. You don't care about the network. You don't care about the data center, physical security. You don't care about the operating system. Neither do you care about the tools, right, and the management business analytics. Even the hosted application, you're not concerned. All you just know is you just sit down here and waiting for them to provide all the services, and you just pay for it and use it. So users connect to and use cloud-based applications over the internet. For example, the Microsoft 365, email, calendar, and all is within the software as a service. Now, the shared responsibility model, what is it saying? Anywhere you see the full blue, right? What it means is that you as a user or as a customer is responsible for it. Anywhere you see the light blue, it means that Microsoft is responsible for it as a service provider or cloud service provider. And anywhere you see half between the blue and the thick blue means that you as well as Microsoft is responsible for it. So if you see on-prem, it's talking about the cloud, the private cloud. In terms of the private cloud, if you look at this, responsibility always retained by Microsoft. Responsibility varies by type. Responsibility varies to cloud providers. But if you are using the on-premises environment, you can see everything, everything here is managed by the customer here. Everything, right? But if you are using infrastructure as a service, the information and data, you are the one responsible. Device, mobile, and PCs, it is your own responsibilities. Account and identities, it is your own responsibilities. Identity and directory infrastructure, that is how users sign in and change their passwords, and all of that is your responsibility. The application, if you are in IaaS, it is your responsibility. The network is also your responsibility. The operating system is your responsibility. However, Microsoft takes care of the physical hosts, right? The physical host, they take care of the network for you, the physical network, right? Because you see network controls here, and then you are seeing physical network. So now you see physical data center, the place where the server is saved, they need to be responsible for it. While the platform as a service, you are responsible for this. But identity and infrastructure, you and Microsoft shares it. Applications, they give you platform, maintain it, you run your code, you share it. Network controls, the both of you will manage it. But operating system, Microsoft gives you, which they will not give you in terms of infrastructure. And then physical host, they give it to you. You don't need to, which is same thing with infrastructure, but not same with your on-premises, because for on-premises you have to buy the physical host. Then the physical network, it's your responsibility, or it's Microsoft responsibility for physical network in their data center. And then for physical data center security, it is their own responsibility. But what if you are using the software as a service where you are just sitting and waiting for everything to be cooked for you? It means that information and data, right, you have to be. So if you look at it in all, information and data, it is customers' responsibility because of anything called breach. Device and mobile, devices, both mobile and PCs, it is your responsibility to provide them for your users to be able to sign in. Then account and identities, right? it is your responsibility. But in terms of identity and directory infrastructure, because the authentication center, Microsoft is the one providing it, right? The Entra ID. So it has to be something that you are sharing a part and Microsoft is sharing a part. In terms of managing their passwords, in terms of resetting their password, in terms of setting the number of days that their password needs to expire, if you want to ban some particular password in terms of the identity, you can take care of that. But the authentication itself is happening against Microsoft server, right? Application, Microsoft takes care. Network, take care of it. Operating system is their responsibility. Physical host is their responsibility. Physical network, they take care of that. Physical data center, it is their own responsibility. So all these are the things you will enjoy completely if you are using the software as a service plan. You share this with Microsoft, but you take care of these three things here. So now let's now look at how many things you take care of if you're on software as a service. Three things, which are information and data, devices and accounts, and then you share the directory and identity as responsibility with Microsoft. But if you are using PaaS, you're also taking care of three of them, but you share three with Microsoft. If you are using IaaS, which is infrastructure as a service, you are taking care of one, two, three, four, five, six, seven services. Microsoft is taking care of three. But if you are taking the on-premises, which is the physical or the private cloud, you are responsible for everything concerning that. And if anything happens to the data center, the physical data center, it is your responsibility. Physical network is your responsibility. Physical host is your responsibility. Operating system is your responsibility. Network is your responsibility. Application is your responsibility, and so on and so forth. So you need to be aware of that. So infrastructure as a service, they are most flexible because, of course, you have control over a lot, but they are not as flexible as the on-premises because for on-premises, it is fully your responsibility. Then you configure and manage the hardware for your application. For your PaaS, you focus on the application development. So this is actually for developers. Platform management is handled by the cloud provider. We've said this before. While SaaS is just you waiting, pay for what you are using, and then user pay for the software they use and subscription on a subscription model. Nothing concern them concern and any other thing. So we've gone very far today. So you need to check the learning path yourself and see how you can take the practice assessments. I may be able to share that with you before we go. I think I have that study guide in one of my browsers here, right? Let me just pull it over. So if you check it very well, for every if you had read through this, which is covered, you will see that we've covered all of this. So you would have seen module assessment here, right? So you can really choose. The good thing is that if you fail any one, it will tell you what you failed. What is cloud computing? Delivering computing services over the internet. We are choosing that based on what we've just studied. Which cloud model uses some data center focused on providing cloud services to anyone that wants them to? And then some data centers are focused on single customers, right? Let's take the question again. Which cloud model uses some data center focused on providing cloud services to anyone, which is public, that wants to use them, and then some data center that are focused on single customers? So the question is, so like they are using the tool, let's see what the answer is going to be. So according to the shared responsibility model, which cloud service type places the most responsibility on customer? It is maybe this infrastructure as a service, right? So the good thing is that you can decide to do this and then check your answer and see that you are right in all of them. So what it does is that this is correct, right? So what is cloud delivering this? And then the second question is saying that which cloud model is this? And we've choose hybrid, we are correct. And then the last one is that according to the shared responsibility model, which cloud service provider type place the most responsibility on customer? We see that it is infrastructure as a service. So it was a long ride for us. So you may want to check that learning path out just so you can better prepare yourself for further learnings, right, on MS. So we are coming again another time, and we shall be looking at the second module in the conversation. Let me check what that is. So that is likely going to be, so we've talked about benefits and all of that. So that is going to be what now? That is going to be um, applications and services, M365 applications and services. Okay. So having gone through all of this, I want to believe that we have all learned something today. I'm just trying to stop sharing my screen now. Also, so okay, I think I can stop sharing. Just give me a second to stop sharing. Okay, so hopefully I'm able to stop sharing. Yeah, I think that's done now. I want to say thank you so much. It was a very long ride, and I want to say thank you for your time today. And we'll meet again when we have the opportunity to. So this is me saying thank you. If you have questions, drop them in the comment section, and we shall deal with that subsequently. Peace.